here. Today is Monday, December 14th, 6:02 is our start time. I call the meeting to order here. Before we dive in, I wanted to kind of run over a few things. On one hand, I'm disappointed we couldn't get together in person. I think it's pretty dang impressive here to see, 50 plus participants. We had some big ideas this year for our annual meeting, but big props and a huge thanks to the Purdue Extension educators and James who've helped organize this. There's a lot of planning that goes in behind it. A few statistics that he had provided me, we try, I think it's at least, I think our board's goal, and I certainly think James and the educators would second this, to diversify the level of involvement, at the extension office and across the county. And he just provided some data about those who are joining us today. I think he said 68% who had signed up were female, 87% were Caucasian. And then on the positive side of things, a very diverse age group. 34% were age 60 to 69 and 24% were 30 to 39. But the thing I think that was most impressive was the geographic diversity of those in attendance. If you took a look at the zip codes and the maps that he provided, we were well represented throughout the entire county, which I think will fit perfectly for the presentations later on in this meeting here today, and then even statewide. So again, like I said, I wanted to thank the educators and thank all of you for coming. At the end of the day, a few comments that I did have before we dive into some of this. I really do, the more I've become engaged with County Extension, I firmly believe this in my heart of hearts, that so much of their work, they are oftentimes, in my opinion, and I've said it before, they're kind of the unsung heroes of some of the work that goes on in our county. And like I said, you'll learn more about that tonight. I think the other interesting thing that's happened in the last year or so, obviously besides COVID, and oddly enough, I've been under the weather myself a little bit these last couple of days, nothing major, but it's a time of transition. And I say that in a good light. Vicki Hadley had become such a good friend of so many of ours, and she recently retired. And there's been a few others who have retired from the office, and you'll get to meet a few of the new staff members tonight as they introduce themselves. But it's pretty impressive, and a huge kudos to them again for taking over and managing things in the midst of COVID. And it is what it is, and they've adjusted perfectly. With that, I wanted to go ahead. I think you all should have received a copy of the 2019 minutes from the annual meeting in December of last year. I was going to see if there is a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Brown. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Steinberg. And then what we've done is before, just literally raise your hand or say aye if you're on the phone. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. And the minutes are approved. So before I hand it over to the educators for their presentations this year, James and I had talked a little bit, and the executive committee had talked a little bit about kind of reviewing. I think this is a question we often get for those who are joining the board, and I think it's probably something we maybe need to touch upon every year, because a lot of times we'll get questions like, well, what does the extension board, what's the advisory board do? So I literally went to the bylaws, as boring as it may sound, but generally speaking, it is not a legal government entity. But it is a way, and this is very important, and I think that the extension board that's currently in place has really played an active role in some of the things that are going on in our county. But it's a way for the county to truly be represented and the work done in the office, the extension office. And there are 4 key functions. And program planning, implementation, and evaluation is the first. The second is financial support and resource identification. The third is advocacy for extension. And the fourth is personnel recommendation and assistance. And I can certainly attest to the fact that each of those pieces, the educators genuinely have looked to our board for their guidance, for our guidance and for our thoughts and opinions. So I would ask any of you that if you do have friends or individuals that you think would be good fits of this board, especially after the presentations this evening, I would ask that you share those names with us, the nominating committee, James, any extension educator, and we will take that into consideration as we're planning for next year's slots. So with that, I will pass things over for now to I think the stars of this evening, and I'll give the floor to James Wolf.
All right, thank you, Adam. And yeah, just to echo what Adam said, if anybody has interest, I know we've got a lot of people on tonight, any interest in being on the board or just seeing what we do, you're welcome to come to meetings. Just contact me and we can get you meeting information to attend meetings or see what things are about. No full commitments up front, but you can just come and see what we do and see how you want to be involved with us. So I guess getting into kind of a review for 2020, it's been quite a year. We've all been experiencing COVID. We've all been adjusting, been changing. It's really affected a lot of the things we've done in our office, and really how we're moving forward with programs. And just some highlights from, I guess, our year as a whole with the office. We never really quit doing any of the things that we do on a regular basis. We still provided all of the services that we have and found ways to offer them. Even when our office was closed for a while, we were still working remotely, handling client interactions, responding to Master Gardener hotline questions. We created drop boxes to do diagnostics or stuff and to handle soil analysis and soil testing for our clients. And then now that we're back in the office, we're still doing all of those things. And our programs have just adjusted a little bit to more of a virtual presence than all in person. So that's been one big change this year. And then also, Adam talked about our educators that retired in the fall of 2019. And we were able to replace and hire new educators this year, along with a couple other staff. So it has been quite the challenge to start new staff in the middle of a pandemic. But I think they've all jumped in feet first and been going with us. So we'll introduce our new staff as we go along through the program as we highlight each program area tonight. And then also we do have, this year we helped work with Purdue Fort Wayne, their human services department they've got interns, and they were struggling to place interns this year because of COVID. So we had actually 3 interns this year from Purdue Fort Wayne that are about halfway through. They just finished their first semester, and then they'll come back in the fall. They're all in the spring. They're all seniors. They're all working in various aspects in the office with either health or just some general office things, or I think Nathan has one in active transportation. So we're really reaching out and trying to help some of the groups that we've really been involved with make it through things. So I'm going to go first. We did a lot of the normal stuff that we have with ag this year happened. Most of our programs happened in the winter for our farmers. So we got most of our programs in. I only had to cancel one. And then most of our summer activities were the same, but our biggest impact this year within the ag realm was really with our farmers market. So I'm going to show a video here. And then we can take some questions afterwards. Hang on. And I forgot to click the buttons so that you could hear the sound. So there we go. Wait, are you seeing,
Nope, you got to go to your video.
for some reason? There we go. All right, now you should be seeing the video. As the
James,
local
there's
food
no sound.
Northeast Indiana continues to grow, we see an increasing number of small
Is there still
farms
no
and
sound?
businesses producing local products. These farms and businesses play an important part in the local.
It was good. The sound came in.
Oh, sorry. The struggles of using new technology for the first time here. All right, we'll try this again. As the local food movement in Northeast Indiana continues to grow, we see an increasing number of small farms and businesses producing local products. These farms and businesses play an important part in the local economy, but they also play an even more important role in the health of our community by providing fresh fruits and vegetables to the many food deserts across our county. We began to see the widespread effects of COVID-19 in early March, right before the market season began for the majority of our markets across Indiana. This put into question how we would safely connect our producers and our consumers through the market season. Small farms, health departments, and market managers across the state of Indiana began looking for solutions to safely keep their markets open. They turned to Purdue Extension and our resources with farmers markets to help find solutions based on research to keep markets open and safe. The Purdue Extension team worked hard to provide thorough guidance on the ever-changing recommendations related to COVID-19. We knew we needed to provide strong answers, but we needed to provide them quickly to avoid delays in market season beginning. Delays would affect the local farm economy as well as the health of people that did not have access to fresh produce. Our solution was to provide articles we could update regularly as recommendations changed, along with publications and consultations with small farms, U-Pick operations, farmers markets, and other local food providers on how to provide local food safely to the consumers. The articles and publications put out by Purdue Extension were able to allow farmers markets and farm stands in Allen County to operate safely. This includes the Johnny May Farm Market, as well as several heel markets that Purdue Extension assisted with that were able to provide nearly $40,000 worth of fresh produce to the community through SNAP and WIC programs. All right, so that was a kind of a little background there and how we really worked in March and April to put out really solid guidance for our farmers markets to help them make sure that they were able to operate. And we did have several markets around. I know when they contacted the health department directed them to the Purdue Extension guidance that was out there because it was the most thorough thing that they had and most consistent guidance that they were able to share with people. And I believe most of our markets were able to operate this year. They may have been delayed in their start, but a lot of them really did get out there and utilize the resources we have. And I think moving forward, that just shows that, you know, we have this ability to take on some of these roles to put out information and not just a program and an educational program where people are coming to a classroom to attend. So we'll take a couple minutes here to see if anybody has questions. Feel free to either utilize the chat feature or you may unmute yourself and ask a question. And if you're not a real talkative bunch tonight, that's fine. You can get a hold of us later at any point, or we'll try to catch up with you as you enter some questions in the chat.
James, can you talk a little bit about your direct involvement in helping with the markets for this year and how you specifically were able to provide these services?
Yeah, so I am, I guess, to go a little bit of background in my involvement, we think of agriculture being as row crops out in the country, but it does encompass a lot of things, and including our food production. So while Terry covers our urban ag, I've really filled that role of farmers markets and learning about farmers markets, and in the past providing full day workshops for them. So I'm pretty well versed, and then I actually lead what used to be our Market Basket 360 team at Purdue, where we were a group of educators from health and human sciences and agriculture, and I think community development, where we work to create programs. This year we created 2 publications, actual big workbooks, and we're working on creating a more detailed series of programs for farmers markets, hopefully later this year. That will be a virtual program, and then hopefully once we're able to do more in-person, have an in-person component as well. But since I'm really involved with farmers markets on the state level, I was one of the people that they contacted to really get guidance on how do we look at farmers markets and their safety and their operation. And then I also work closely with many of the farmers markets here to provide them guidance, just as consultations on a day-to-day basis. All right, not seeing any more questions, I will transition to our 4-H program area. And what we're going to do first I'm going to introduce Kelsey Younts. She is our newest educator here in the office. She is the new 4-H youth development educator, and she is going to give you a little bit of background about herself.
All right, hi, my name is Kelsey. I started September 1st in my role, and I'm very excited. I have a great team to work with, and I'm very thankful. Sam is probably the best co-4-H educator I could ask to be with. A little background from me, I'm originally from LaGrange County, and I was the office secretary there for a couple of years before I transitioned into my role as an educator. I was a 10-year 4-H member in LaGrange County, and I annoyed my parents because I showed just about every animal you could and did as too many projects probably in some regards. And yeah, I graduated this past summer with my degree, bachelor's degree in human resources, and yeah, I'm just excited for all of the possibilities in 4-H and in Extension, and I'm very excited to be in Allen County.
Does anybody have any questions to welcome Kelsey?
So what are your thoughts on Nubian goats and not just Boer goats?
I am a Boer goat person, but I love all goats. If you talk to all the ladies in the office, the secretaries, they hear about my goats probably more than they want to. That's my favorite topic to talk about. I did have a few Nubians growing up, and I showed them in 4-H. I actually showed dairy goats the majority of my 4-H career before I transitioned to Boer goats later on.
All right, maybe while you're thinking of some questions, I'm going to go ahead and transition to the Allen County 4-H in Review, Year in Review video that we've got. And this was put together by Kelsey and then Sam Johnson, who is our tenured 4-H youth development educator. All right. So after that video, I will now turn it over to Sam and Kelsey for any other comments.
So yes, hey everybody. I know many of you. For those of you who I don't know, I'm Sam Johnson, 4-H Youth Development Educator, along with Kelsey here in Allen County. It was quite a year. Who knew at the beginning of 2020 the amazing things, some crummy things, but the amazing things that would happen. We really saw our 4-H community come together to make things happen. And I'm so thankful for our volunteers and all of our 4-H members for the kindness and the resiliency and the generosity and the flexibility that really helped push us to make things a reality for the youth in Allen County this year. And Kelsey or I would be happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Sam, in a year that we weren't able to do 4-H how we normally do 4-H, what was the biggest positive that you saw from this year?
I always love to look at silver linings, and one of the major silver linings was I really think that 2020 will always be the year that social distancing brought us closer together. There was just such a sense of teamwork and community, and just people rolling up their sleeves and doing what needed to be done to make things happen. And again, that happens on normal years, but I've never seen it happen to the degree that it has happened this year. On some days when policies would change a half dozen times, we shifted and we made it happen, and we kept the 4-H community up to date, and it was a really special year. Don had said the social media numbers look impressive. How do the social media numbers look compared to last year? And Chaos helps us do things in new and different ways. One of those was taking a lot more social media presence throughout the time that we had 4-H judging results. The Allen County Fair, unfortunately, was canceled for the year, but we were able to provide in-person judging events for our youth. And so that's something that we're going to continue to do. We're going to continue to keep the community and the community, when it comes to social media, as you all know, is a worldwide reach. So we're going to keep those happening each year during judging, just as far as letting people know results of livestock and non-livestock judging. We did Facebook Live for the livestock shows this year. We're going to transition to Huntington County, Huntington University. They have a media studies program that we believe is going to be able to live stream all of our shows for us. And during our 4-H fling in each February, ours is going to be a lot different this year. It's going to be a virtual fling, of course, with everything going on this winter. But we have sponsorships, and those sponsorships are going to go toward paying for those live stream services from Huntington University. They're not cheap, but we're going to continue that as well.
Looks like there's a question about the possibilities for an urban 4-H network club.
Well, 4-H urban 4-H network club is that Stephanie Henry, Fort Wayne advocate? That looks like her screen name probably. Kelsey and I have met with Stephanie Henry, who is a local advocate, and we're looking at ways that we can incorporate some 4-H programming in some YMCA day camps based on food sustainability, urban agriculture, and broadening our reach when it comes to young people in Fort Wayne. Also, we've got a Master Gardener volunteer who's interested in possibly taking on some club leadership at Johnny May Farm. Terry, James, and I have all discussed some big ideas going forward with great collaboration at Johnny May Farm with youth and entrepreneurship and marketing, all sorts of great things, and local foods.
All right. Well, thank you, Sam and Kelsey. And I will say, in a weird year, I am glad that our 4-H stepped up and handled the changes that were implemented for the COVID safety, because we're implementing those across all of our programs. And I will say it may have been a slight hassle, but it's a good thing to say that when you look back, there were no COVID-19 cases that were traced back to the Allen County Fair. And that actually holds true for all 92 counties across the state. Not a single COVID case was traced back to the fairs that we had as part of 4-H and through Purdue Extension.
Yeah, James, 56 counties across the state of Indiana provided in-person judging this summer. And again, not one case of COVID-19 was traced back to any extension or 4-H event. And there's something to be said in that. There were a lot of headaches with COVID safety plans and editing those and making sure that our I's were dotted and our T's were crossed. But yes, it was well worth it. And A. Fall is joining the board tonight for extension, but is also executive at the YMCA downtown. Would love to assist in any way possible. That's amazing news, and we'll be in touch.
All right, look at that. Already making some connections here. All right, thank you, Sam and Kelsey. We'll move on now to our community wellness coordinators. I believe Nathan Miller, who is one of our 2 community wellness coordinators, is able to join us tonight. And he has a slide presentation, if I can give him
Yes.
host abilities there.
Well,
Oh,
Terry
yeah.
said we skipped Kadani.
Yes, we will come back to Kadani here in a minute.
Okay. All right. Well, so folks, I'm not a baseball guy, but I think the term is pinch hitting or pitch hitting. Is that right? Jared was where it was going to be here tonight, but he and his family are home with COVID, and he sent me a text a few minutes ago and said I was planning on being there. I was all dressed up and ready to go, and then he started to feel really lousy. So he is at home recuperating. The other almost as bad thing that has happened is we're on Zoom, and you can't see my ugly sweater. I wore this just for you guys, and it's glorious, but we'll push through. COVID has made everything difficult. Okay, so I'm going to try and share a presentation with you here real quick. Share screen. There we go. Okay, you should be able to see. Can you see a slideshow?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I want to talk to you real quick about the nutrition education program. It is kind of a weird branch of Purdue Extension. We do things a little bit differently, but it is still the same purpose. We try to improve the lives and livelihood of people in Allen County. We have 2 branches kind of within our program area. We have nutrition education programming, and they do education classes. They work with all sorts of different groups, from children to seniors and everybody in between. They prepare meals live. They teach nutrition, healthy eating, healthy shopping, and stretching a dollar, and all sorts of really neat programs. But they do that typically live and in person. They also lug a lot of equipment around the city. If you ever see their car, the trunk or the back is always filled with all sorts of education materials. The other branch, and that's what I'm in, and Jared Blanchard, if you know him, he does the same thing. We're community wellness coordinators. We don't teach programs. In fact, we're not allowed to teach programs. We're supposed to look and work on things that are upstream. So we work on policy changes, changing systems, and then environmental changes that result in people living a healthier lifestyle. We also spend a lot of time coordinating with community partners. And then I added a little picture of coffee, because if you have ever met with either of us, you've probably met over coffee. We drink a lot of coffee, and it's awesome. But we had a big problem. Those 2 groups that I just told you about, it was all about being in front of people. Direct education, coordination, meeting for coffee, all of those things. And COVID really caught us off guard. We had really big plans for 2020, and most of those just kind of went away in March. Like I said, we depend on our connections. For nutrition education to work, typically you have to be in front of people and you have to work with a lot of people. The good news is the community rallied and absolutely amazing things happened. 2020 turned into this really interesting team effort that worked out really well. And honestly, because of you guys and your involvement in Extension, you were connected to some of the neatest programming in Fort Wayne. Just amazing, some of the stuff that happened. So we did all of this stuff through some unconventional thinking and outside the box thinking. We did a lot of things virtually. We just had to react every time something changed. From March on, we had to react and change the way we did things. So I'm going to try and real quickly, and James threatened my life if I didn't do this in 5 minutes. So this is probably the last time you'll ever see me, but I'm going to try really hard to go fast. So this is the stuff Jared was going to talk about. I'm going to try and read over the notes and tell you about it because he did some really cool stuff. Growing Together, it was a grant and a thing that he worked on. With it, they produced over 5,000 pounds of produce. And there is
500.
a lady.
500.
Did I say five? Oh, 500. Well, 5,000 sounded so much better. So let's stick with 5,000, even though it was 500 pounds. Master gardener Jackie Hoopfer, did I say that right? She wrote a little note about this lady here on your screen. She said, one of my in-home service clients lives not far from the campus. Iris suffers from Parkinson's. The stress of COVID virus due to isolation has exacerbated her symptoms. I ran the vegetables over to her. Iris was so thrilled. She kept smelling the vegetables. She really did not think she would see farm fresh vegetables this summer. She is going to stuff the 2 larger zucchinis, give one to her neighbor who is homebound on hospice right now. She said, I cannot share, or how can I not share my bounty? The cucumbers she was going to make into a salad for tonight's dinner. Tomorrow she will fry up the smaller zucchini and green pepper with some rice. She was so appreciative of everything. These kind of happy feelings is what I believe the garden will bring this summer. Just people helping out in a kind manner, pretty powerful. So that's just one example. Another thing that Jared worked on was the Heal Markets. Parkview Greenhouse, let's see, I believe they had 555 clients that they worked with. Is that, Terry, do you remember? You're the number corrector here. He wrote down numbers right. And he didn't put what this was. So Heal Markets, yeah, they're really cool. I don't have time to explain them, but 555 people. McCormick Place, 401. The WIC office, there were 232 and 459 people they served. Grand total, 1,647 participants were able to get to fresh fruits and vegetables that they wouldn't have otherwise. He also, oh no, this is actually the nutrition education programming. They weren't able to meet with people. They weren't able to get in front of classrooms and things. So they did a lot of work virtually. Cindy sent me a quick note, and I'm going to try and read this super fast. She said, sometimes it is impossible to judge the impact we are making in our communities through our program, especially now that we are all laboring in isolation. It wasn't until I received this email from one of my teachers that I realized I had indeed connected with all my students and their teachers through the Ethernet. A 4th grade teacher at Arlington Elementary School was one of Fort Wayne Community School teachers who allowed me to complete a program virtually. She wrote, I wanted to take a moment to let you know that what an amazing job Cindy Hunt did teaching the health and nutrition lessons in my classroom. She was able to complete the lessons at Arlington Elementary School, and she finished the lesson over a Zoom meeting virtually. Cindy was always friendly, organized, on time, responsible, and helpful. And I know, Cindy, that's absolutely true of her. She was always prepared with wonderful lessons. She was nice, caring, and outgoing. Her happy and positive personality was contagious. Her lessons fit perfectly with what we were learning about in class. The lessons are interactive and ongoing. The students love the movements and the food and drink. I think she did a fabulous job, and I look forward to her coming back next year. We may not know what next year school year holds, but this encourages me to continue searching for new ways to reach my students. So that's Cindy. Awesome work that they're doing. Some stuff that I'm working on, most of my work goes through the Active Transportation Coalition. We have a whole bunch of partners. It's completely volunteer, and we try and change the way people interact with the city. Instead of driving places, we try to encourage walking and biking. There's a list of people that we've worked with. This summer, we had huge plans. We were going to do this great big party as we closed off a street to test and see how it affects things. A lot of that didn't happen, but we just rolled with it. We got a grant through ISDH to modify Taylor and Fairfield. If you know where Shigs and Pitt is at, it's over in that area. We tested a short-term change. Turns out it worked great. In fact, we just talked to some residents in the area. They said they still love it and there's not been any issues. The city has since converted our 2-week test into a long-term, they won't say permanent, but it looks like it's going to be permanent change. Let's see, I have one quote. I said, I cannot believe how much difference in traffic noise at night with our area blocked. Another of your great ideas, referring to the ATC. So made their neighborhood and their community a lot safer and easier to navigate on foot. We also created a lending library. So we've been collecting materials, and we now have a pop-up chess park. So if you have a chess, like you want to do a chess park somewhere, we got the equipment for that. We have all sorts of equipment that'll help you modify how vehicles get around and make it safer for people. Yeah, it turned out to be a really great year. It was tough, but it was really great. And I think we're well positioned for 2021. I think amazing things are going to happen, but we need your help. We really need people to join an initiative. If any of this caught your interest, jump on board. We've got plenty of places we could plug you in. We also need you to tell others about our work, because it is very much, especially in 2020, and going into 2021, it's a community effort. It's a collaborative thing. So yeah, it was a good year. I want to throw a picture of a silver lining. 2020 turned out to be a good year, but together, 2021, we can make it even more incredible and transformative. Silver linings. James, how'd I do? Am I in 5 minutes? No, not even close. Never is.
Yeah, it was not 5 minutes, but we'll call it 5 minutes. So, and I do want to reiterate one thing in there. I know Jared's not here, but I assisted with this. St. Joe Community Foundation, with their HEAL grants, their HEAL markets, they had an issue where they needed to step away from actually running the markets and manning the markets. So we partnered with them and another group in town, and I honestly feel awful. I forgot their name right off the top of my head, but
Health Visions.
Health Visions, yes, Health Visions, and we partnered with them this year to manage the Double Dollars program at the HEAL markets, and that was, again, we talked about how many people that served, but if we put it in dollar amounts, they were able to double $20,000, which means $40,000 was spent on fresh produce at these markets. And that is money that goes to growers in this community, and goes to help feed people and with healthy produce that's out there. And even for like a down year like this was, that's I think some amazing impact within our community. And we look forward to doing this in the future. We did hire part-time people, seasonal people to manage those markets. And we look forward to doing that again this year and hopefully into the future for several more years. So any questions for Nathan? He was pretty thorough.
That's James's nice way of saying he talks way too much.
All right, then we're going to go ahead and then move to Kidani next. So we were able to hire a health and human sciences educator this year, and he started on April 6th, right after we got sent home in the middle of, or at the beginning of our pandemic, and has been doing some great things since. So I will turn it over to Kidane to talk a little bit about himself.
Thanks, James. Hello, everyone. I see a lot of familiar faces. I also see some that I have never met, but I would love to meet. I am originally from Ethiopia, raised and born there. I come to the US in 2011 to attend at Taylor University. So I studied biology, pre-medicine, and chemistry at Taylor for 4 years. Then I went back to Ethiopia for a month and came back and went to Nashville to get my master's in public health at Vanderbilt University. Met my friend, now my wife there, and we moved back to Fort Wayne in 2017. So I have known Fort Wayne since 2011 because of the organization who helped me come to the US, which is Project Mercy. Their headquarters is here in Fort Wayne. So even if I didn't live full time, you know, I have known Fort Wayne for a long time. And for the last, 3.5 years, I have been living full time in Fort Wayne. So my passion is health. So, you know, if anything, this COVID has shown us what is most important to us, which is our health, which is our loved ones. So health is not, you know, what happens in the doctor's office, medical care, clinical care. Yes, that's just one part, maybe less than 20%. But the rest, whatever we do, it affects our health, with whether the area we live in, the education, employment, economy, access, all that. So under my area as health and human sciences educator, I cover food, family, money, and health. Even in this difficult time, we were able to provide programs for food safety, mental health, as stress has been one of a big challenge right now, and financial literacy. And I have been partnering with local organization, and I would love to partner with, you know, all of you. We can work together. This is not just a one organization or a one-person job. As a community, we can come together and we can maximize the impact for our community. So I would love to work to get to know you. Yeah, thank you. And if there's any question, I would love to answer. Thank you.
All right, welcome, Kidane. Any questions for Kidane? All right. Since there's no questions, we'll go ahead and move on. Next, we're going to kind of go to our urban ag and horticulture area. So I'm going to start by introducing our new program assistant for urban agriculture, who is Ellen Bauman. And she is going to talk about herself a little bit before we turn things over to Terry.
Hi, I'm Ellen. I started back in June at Johnny May Farm. Within the last couple of years, I've worked with Windrose Urban Farm, also downtown Fort Wayne, where I was dubbed the Mushroom Queen. I have worked with several, well, maybe not several, but quite a few organizations, nonprofits that deal with environmental and water quality issues. I've had a green thumb for a real long time, and I just like to grow everything that is beautiful and yummy. So for Johnny May Farm, this next coming year, we are hoping to extend our season by about 5 months. So we're going to open the market a couple months early and hopefully stay open about 3 months later for our markets. And I'm hoping to actually double our harvest numbers. So for 2020, we did just over 3,000 pounds of food. with some wonderful
Ellen, are you there? I think you cut out for a minute.
Oh,
We heard wonderful, and then it just stopped.
oh man, everything's wonderful. We're talking about food. So I can just go back. One of our biggest goals is extending the market season and then also doubling our harvest numbers. So 2020, we did just over 3,000 pounds. So I'm hoping for 2021 to, like the lowest is 5,000 pounds. I really want to hit that 6,000 mark though. So I'm excited to be here. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Some lofty goals there. Any questions for Ellen? All right, so I will go ahead and then turn things over to Terry. And we have a video for Terry, and I will preface this. This video has been put together and is one of the highlights Purdue Extension success stories this year. So it will actually, I think it actually hit social media today from our state office, and many of you might be seeing this multiple times over the coming weeks or month, but it is a great story about the impact down at our Johnny May farm. So switch to movies and play.
Johnny May Farm is an urban farm in Fort Wayne, Indiana, on the southeast side.
This is the city's first urban farm. We selected this location because with this being a food desert, it seemed like the appropriate place to do an urban farm.
The closest actual grocery store, like a Kroger, is at least 15, almost 20 minutes away.
Johnny May Farm is 3/4 of an acre in the middle of a neighborhood where we provide fresh fruits and vegetables to the community members here at affordable prices.
So it means a lot to me because it allows me to continue cooking fresh and teach my children to eat fresh rather than buying processed food.
Johnny May Farm is also a place for community to safely come together to meet and to have a sense of place within their own neighborhoods.
You can socialize, you can interact. It's like a community event every time, every Friday. We look forward to it because you get to actually truly meet your neighbors.
I just love seeing all the excitement and the energy that's here now on nights when there's activities and market night.
Not all parents are able to come to the farm, but they're comfortable, I've noticed, with sending their children to come, almost like a recreational experience.
Not only are we providing access to affordable fresh produce, but also a neighborhood place where kids can come and learn about healthy eating and produce.
We have had quite a few families that have told us that because of the seeds that we offered last year and with the knowledge that we've given them, that they've started their first gardens.
As a single mother, that's a huge thing for my children to be able to teach them, hey, look, we can grow our food and it's something for them to look forward to. And being able to take what they've learned back home to our garden.
Bro, the carrot! It's a whole carrot!
We wouldn't have had that experience without coming to this farm.
When they are pulling their own produce out, though, they have their own connection. That carrot's going to taste so much better because they watched it grow. This project is so much more than just growing carrots in the city. We grow people, we grow relationships, we grow partners.
As we started talking, it struck me that maybe the extension folks were a potential partner.
It helps shows what Purdue Extension is capable of, and it encompasses the whole system of extension in the 4 program areas that we have.
I think there'd be a huge benefit for any society to have this type of farm that offers affordable food and the education. It's been everything to me.
This is what Extension does.
All right. And now the floor is yours, Terry.
Gonna need a moment over here. Oh, how y'all doing? What you guys got? I mean, that video really is, that's all I got to say. Any questions? So who here has never heard of Johnny May Farm before? We've got one brave soul. It says yes. All right.
I think that means Natalie's volunteering for
Yeah.
work over there in the spring.
Natalie,
Trick question.
I'd love for you to share what your initial thoughts are after watching that video, and if you have any other questions. I just put you on the spot.
Well, I really enjoy the connection.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, the audio cut out.
Growing the people aspect of deserts.
Natalie, are you still there?
You broke Natalie, Terry.
I broke her. All right. Yeah, I do want to say though that one of the most important things for me is really that connection with the community. This year, I am so ecstatic to have Ellen Ballman joining me in this adventure with Johnny May Farm and supporting those farming operations so that I can step aside and do more of the programmatic emphasis that we want with the farm so that we can do both growing just tons of delicious food and then providing that really great education that Purdue Extension is known for. So this project is such a great mashing of those two worlds. And this is one of those projects too that we're really trying to serve the community that we have down there, the Renaissance Point. But we love to have partnerships and work with people to do really amazing things. This year, Nathan's going to be bringing his chess club or his chess group to be able to do a pop-up chess. Jared's going to be doing programming during the farm market during the summer for youth that help with healthy eating, active living. It's called Power of Produce. We have a question here from Don. What is your most popular product? So we have our three biggest sellers that we cannot grow enough of are collard greens, okra, and green tomatoes. And those things sell out immediately every week. And we continue to increase the production of those every year. There's this year too, Ellen went out on a limb and started providing herbs. In the past, I haven't had success with herbs. And I was like, well, you can try it, but you probably won't be successful. Lo and behold, she tried it and it's been wildly successful. So it does vary from year to year. But that's the great thing about what we do is we get to try it and see what works and talk to the consumers and see what they really want. It allows us to really connect with the people that are buying the produce to provide them with a culturally important produce. And we do offer recipes for some things. This coming year, I want to be more diligent about connecting with the NEP program to offer more recipes for the produce that we offer. But we do have connections with FoodLink. We offer FoodLink QR codes with all of the produce, and FoodLink is a program that's offered by Purdue Extension that gives nutritional information and provides recipes and using that produce as well. It's just so much better when you have samples. I want to have samples. Good questions. Yeah, and then also Jared is brilliant, and he secured some additional funding and he got us a blender bike. So the blender bike is exactly that. It's a blender that is powered by a bike. So this coming year, we're going to be having the blender bike at the Power of Produce, the Heal Markets, and at Johnny May Farm to be able to do smoothies. He also got an art attachment on it so you can do spin art. And it's really going to be a fun addition that we have at the markets this year. So Stephanie asked if there's been tracking differences in soil health. So because of how our farm is set up, we're only in the second year of growing in that soil. So we have the initial markers, and we've been doing a lot of improvements to the soil health because we brought in a lot of the soil that we're growing in right now. So we're going to continue to look at those markers and continue to increase the soil health. We want to make it also an ecologically sustainable farm as well. We have pollinator areas and companion planting and making sure that we're being really responsible that way. And Tom asked who works the farm. So Ellen is our main muscle man at the farm. Thankfully, I've been able to step away from doing it, but in the past, it's been a lot of my muscles there from year to year. We also get some volunteers from the office that like to come every so often. And then we've got some master gardeners that help. This coming year, we're going to have a more diligent volunteer program with master gardeners that want to come help both with the farming and with the educational aspects.
All right, thank you, Terry. So that kind of wraps up our highlights from our program areas. And as you can see, we've been doing some amazing things this year with limitations of COVID, with not having all of the volunteers we want, limited abilities to go out and do things. We've been really trying to continue making that impact. And as we move forward, it clearly takes more than us as well. So we really rely on the community and all of our volunteers who have stepped up this year. And we really hope that they continue to really be that driving force in the community, the master gardeners, the extension homemakers, the 4-H leaders, but then just also our board and any other community members and partnering organizations that want to step up and do things with us to continue doing these projects, to do new innovative things or anything in between. So just make sure you contact us if you've got questions or want to be involved in some way. And we look forward to continuing to do some great things with you next year. So as that finishes me up, I will turn things over to Adam.
Yeah, and before I dive in, we don't have a ton of time. We've got the extension, or excuse me, the new nominees here come up here in a second. But I wanted to take one quick second. I wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to ask questions. But a few of you on this line know I got my master's degree at IPFW in public policy, and I vividly remember, for those who remember, Dr. Jane Grant. I vividly remember her showing a video in her class about a community garden. And it stuck with me forever because it was the kind of community development that occurs. Again, it's not right. It's not Parkview Field or Harrison Square or Ash or right GM, right? But it was this grassroots level economic and community development, which I literally get goosebumps when I hear these stories. And I can't say enough about the work that's being done. And my point in saying that is, as a taxpayer, you should be awfully dang proud of the collaboration, in my opinion, between the Extension Office, the City of Fort Wayne, the CDBG funds. I believe, I could be mistaken, but I believe that were used on that project a few years back. And if you have not been, I will sincerely ask you to go visit just once. Just go visit one time, just to see what goes on there, because it's pretty neat. It's pretty awesome. And the other things I'll say is some of the other things that were mentioned in the presentations. Sam had mentioned the COVID policies and safety plans. It is indeed true that every single event, every single thing that they do, they have a safety plan. And again, it's thorough, and it's not really, to me and to anyone on the board and involved, it should not be surprising that there have been no cases at any of these events. And the one other thing the board has done, and I think the extension staff has done it, but I'm going to double down on it again, is we as a board have really hit home, and kudos to the board, have really hit home on the educators and the staff to become as engaged in the community as possible, to be seen, to be recognized, and to be honest with you, not become the unsung heroes, but be recognized for all the work that's being done. And I think you see a little bit of that today. And I had mentioned before how we're kind of in a transitional period from the amount of huge institutional knowledge that we had, and Barb was mentioned, and of course, Vicki. and this transition of the future of the extension office. And that is happening. It's tough. It's tough to shift with that paradigm. And I firmly and adamantly, and I think that the rest of the board would agree, that is happening. So those were just a few of those things I wanted to say, because all of those things at the end of the day improve quality of life. And that's why people say, why is Adam Welsh from Greater Fort Wayne on the board at the extension, on the advisory board at the extension office? It's because the work being done improves the quality of life of the citizens in this community, period. All right, period. And it's a perfect segue, I think, into someone who has, I think everybody on this call probably knows, Mr. Dick Conklin. Dick, of course, would be here. He probably would have sent me 3 messages by now telling me something that I needed to change. And I say that with a sincere smile. He actually, for those who don't know, it's public. He has said that I can share. He has been battling leukemia. He still has emailed many of us with updates. He's actually, I believe tonight or today, has gone in for his 5th and final round of chemo. So I sincerely ask that you keep him in your thoughts and your prayers. Send him a text or an email, because I know it means the world to him. He will try to stay as engaged as possible with extension, and I know that he will. And towards the end of this year, that may be elevated depending upon how he's doing. And then the other unfortunate news, I guess I can share, is that George McCowan, for those who don't know George, but George has become a dear friend of so many of ours as well. George, just this past week has resigned, and it's a bummer for the sake of admittedly diversity, which he provided, but also the amount of knowledge he's had over all these years. So 2 individuals that will be missed, and hopefully we can bring Dick back into the fold a little bit more. So with that, I'm going to very quickly kind of go over the new slate of officers for the next terms coming in. I'm going to read through them here, and then I'll probably defer to Dan Stockman, who is the chair of the nominating committee. But the presentation of the slate, as you can see on the agenda, 3 of these individuals are currently on the board and will be extending to a 2nd term. It'll be Fred McKissick, Jeff Steinberg, and Kara Etzler. And then there will be 2 new individuals, which I think Dan will share information on, is Amanda Fall and Michael Mabee. And hopefully I am saying that correctly. Dan, do you have anything to add, buddy?
Yes, it's Michael Mabee. Fred is just finishing up his first 3-year term. Jeff and Kara were both appointed to 1-year terms to fill vacancies, but they did yeoman's work this year and have agreed to come back. So they're nominated for full 3-year terms. And then we have Amanda Fall, who is the executive director of the Central YMCA downtown. She's also the former director of operations at Women's Bureau. Michael Mabee, whose family is involved in farming to this day. He is vice president of business development at Swiss Re and former senior relationship manager at Lincoln. So he's got a foot in both worlds of ag and insurance and downtown and everything else. So that is our slate that we present, and we hope that the board will approve.
And Dan, I'll take that as, can I assume that was a motion to approve those
Yes.
5 individuals?
I make a motion to nominate these 5 individuals for each for a 3-year term.
We have a second from the board.
Don, I second.
Don seconded. Again, all of those in favor say aye or raise your hand. And
Aye.
those opposed, sorry, I apologize. Those opposed, same sign. And those individuals are approved. So, and with that, I believe that takes care of item 4 on the agenda there. Other business, it won't, this won't take a whole lot of time, but if you, for 2021 schedule, we made some very, very slight modifications, which I think we're going to continue to, thank you, James, for pulling that up. we will move to continue that schedule. You'll see that we're going to continue the every other month schedule, except for over the summer where we ask that you just attend the county fair. And then we're going to actually move our, the one change is going to be, and we'll discuss this later on as a board, but we're going to look to change the annual meeting to August for a variety of reasons. I just think we could, we're going to kind of combine the legislative event and the annual meeting into one event, kind of increase the level of attendance, which we have been doing. That way we can consolidate it more and maybe do something outside and a little bit more exciting and fun. We had some exciting things in plan for this year, had to be changed, and hopefully next year we can experience those. I guess, James, does that need, do our bylaws require that to be voted on and approved by the board?
I believe so.
Yes, I was going to do so just in case. If we could have is there a motion to approve the 2021 meeting schedule?
So moved. By Dan.
Motion by Dan, second by someone second, I'm sorry.
I'll second Adam.
We had a second by Jacob. All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Great. And then we'll be in touch about the executive committee here between now and our we have some individuals that we'll be reaching out to solicit interest and serve those positions for the 2021 calendar. So with that, I do not believe at this time, I have some notes that I think I covered everything, to be honest with you, after the presentations, but I will very briefly pause and then defer to James if he has anything before our motion to adjourn. Is there any last second questions for myself or the executive committee or the educators of the board? The most, oh, go ahead, Dan. Yes.
If I could just jump in and say all these years I've been on the board, I am still just in awe of our educators and the work that they do. All the staff, Nathan, Jared, all of them are just, it is incredible what such a small number of people are able to accomplish. Very, very grateful for that. Also, I just wanted to give a shout out to our commissioners that were able to be here tonight, Nelson and Therese. Thank you. They've been huge supporters forever, and I know we're all very grateful for that too.
Thank you, Dan. You took the words out of my mouth, but that is the more the merrier. I know Commissioner Brown had emailed and said she had to slip off to another Zoom meeting. Surprise, surprise. But I do want to concur with that. And I also want to share the thanks to all the board members. I do believe this is a very active board, in all honesty, of very passionate individuals as I'm looking around here and who's on this call. And I thank you sincerely for your constant attendance at the meetings and your constant work. I was going to say one more thing, and I apologize. I'm drawing a blank. But with that, yes, James, sorry, that was the last thing. James, did you have any final comments yourself?
No, I think I've covered a lot of things. I guess just stay up to date with us. Follow us on Facebook. That's where we post most of our information about what's going on. So follow that to stay up to date. And then also, I believe the only other elected official I saw in my list here was Chris Crabtree was on with us representing Representative Banks' office tonight. So thank you for joining us.
Wonderful. Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved. A second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much to everybody for coming and being a part of this. Keep in touch.